Hey everybody, welcome back to the It's a Mind Game podcast. My name is Jade and today I'm joined by the fabulous Ashley, who is a part of our HA community. If you don't know much about the HA community, that is a program that Claudia and I run. It's a beautiful little private Facebook group where you get coaching for both mindset and nutrition as well as training. But without further ado, let's get Ashley on board. Welcome, Ashley.
Hello.
It's exciting to have you here today, and it's exciting to see that notification of your period showing up a couple of weeks ago. How are you feeling since then?
I've been feeling good. I was so happy once it came. I noticed a huge shift in my mood in all aspects of life, whether it be home life, work life, social life. I felt a lot more freer, lighter, happier. And it's amazing just to have it there and know that I'm not stressing over that one little thing anymore.
Yeah, it can really sort of take over your world, can't it? Especially when you've been trying your best for quite some time. The self-doubt sort of kicks in and then you start to question things and you kind of feel, I guess, more emotionally back and forth. Because when we started checking in with each other, you were on a pretty solid path when it come to reducing your training, eating more, being a bit more flexible. It was just more of that limbo sort of final touches to make sure everything sort of fell into place. I guess, why don't we go back a little bit to when you had HA, what your training was like, what your nutrition was like, and sort of life in general, and then we'll kind of go from there.
Yeah, so I think my HA would have started in 2020. I've been on the contraceptive pill for a long time, and it wasn't until I got off the contraceptive pill earlier this year that was when I realized that I had HA. But working back through all my past and history, it wouldn't have started till about 2020. That's when lockdown started. So evidently, to control something, I started controlling my food. So that was where calorie restriction came in. I lost around 15 kilos. And I would exercise every day. Obviously with lockdowns, before that I would be going to the gym. I'd be going to the gym 5 days a week. And then once lockdown started, I would work out at home. I'd go do an hour walk to get out of the house. And then to fill in time in the afternoon, I'd chuck another workout in there just to fill up. And then when we weren't in lockdown, I was at the gym. And then once lockdowns had ended, I was still going to the gym 5 to 6 days a week. I was playing netball as well. And then so that included netball trainings. And then I could be at the gym on the days where I wasn't going to work, up to 2 hours, maybe sometimes 3. And then on the days that I was going to work, I was aiming for an hour to an hour and a half.
Yeah, now they're quite long times to spend at the gym. Did you find that while you were there, you were really excited and happy to be there? It was sort of like, I do a couple of exercises, and I'll do a couple more, I'll do a couple more. Or do you feel like it sort of started with a 1 hour workout and the pressure to do more sort of crept in? Like, what was the energy like with your training? Was it just, I'm so excited to be here? Or was it a bit more sort of grueling, get it done?
Yes, so I think like at first it was, I'm excited to be here, and then I started investing in fitness coaches and getting training programs made for me, and then that's when it started growing out, because I was like, I need to reach a certain amount of steps today, so I'm going to go hop on the treadmill for 20 to 30 minutes as a warm-up, just walking, get a few high steps up before I start my day, because once I get home from work, I don't want to be trying to get all these steps in. So then that's where half an hour would come in being on the treadmill, and then it would be an hour workout. But if that went over time, I had to finish. I couldn't not leave sets not touched. Mm-hmm. But really to get me through, I mean, I would get up 5 a.m, sometimes earlier if I had to, scull some pre-workout and then just keep going. And I wouldn't be eating until I was going home, which wouldn't be till about after 7 o'clock. So, and then I'm not eating again until nearly midday. So there was lots of times where I was under fueling, and to go to the gym, I've sometimes just getting that pre-workout in. That pre-workout gave me that little kick I needed to get it done. And I was going whether I was sick, whether I had a sore foot or an injury, because it says that I have to work out today, so I'm going to be working out today.
Yeah, and that's where the fitness training thing, it can be quite a conundrum, especially I guess because there's coaches that are really aware of female hormones and cycles and things like that, and there's others that are like, no, just grind and get it done.
Yeah.
And I guess that's something that's really exciting about where fitness is going at the moment, is trainers are becoming a lot more aware of things that can go wrong without monitoring clients, and how to better cater to hormonal systems and rest and whatnot. Because in the past, it's always been just do as much as you can, as often as you can.
Yeah.
And eat as little as possible.
Yes.
And we're sort of getting away from that. What I guess, so you jumped off the pill and then period didn't show up. What were your initial thoughts when that happened?
So at first, so I got a withdrawal bleed when I first hopped off the pill. And obviously that's like, okay, I've just had my wedding. We're off the pill now. Let's start trying for a baby. And then when it didn't come, I was like, oh, yes, I'm pregnant. It worked out first time. Amazing. And then nothing happened, and, negative pregnancy tests. And I just thought, oh, maybe it's too early to pick up the signs. And then still nothing happened. And it wasn't until I was like, okay, maybe it's, I've been on the pill for a long time. It might just take a little bit. And it wasn't until then I went and seen a doctor, and I've spoken to my family members, and my sister had actually had HA as well.
Mm-hmm.
And so we spoke about that, and she goes, no, this is what might actually be happening. And I thought, no, that's not me. It's not going to happen to me. I'm fine. I'm not extreme, I just go to the gym, I eat, I'm fine. And then I went to the doctors, and they're like, I'll give it 6 months, see what happens. And I just thought, no, there's still something. Maybe I do have HA. Maybe I do need to look more into this. And that's when I started researching a bit more about it. And I was like, yep, I ticked the boxes. And it wasn't until about June, July this year that then I really started diving into it. And that's when I started working with Claudia and yourself.
Yeah, it's interesting that your sister had HA, so obviously she'd be quite aware of it all. And when she first suggested the resistance, that no, that can't be me, because I feel like that's the most common thing for all of us. It's like, but I'm so healthy, I'm doing all the things, only to find out, oh, but all the things also are a little bit too much for our system. When you saw your doctor, how did you feel about the advice of sort of, oh, just 6 months, see how you go?
I think it's not really fair on us. I think because I had actually already been to the doctors in 2020 when my pill when I was on the pill, and my period had sort of already started to go away. And because I was dismissed back then, because I was on the pill, I was just healthy and active. There was nothing wrong. I wasn't trying for a baby. So to be dismissed kind of again was really discouraging, that I wasn't being heard. And so just having to wait that 6 months, it kind of, when I first had gone and seen them, I was like, well, they're not actually realizing that I could have HA. So that's when I was in more of a semi-recovery phase, because, well, they're not saying I have it, so I don't have a technical diagnosis of it. So I'll still go work out, and I'll still watch what I'm eating, but not to as extreme as I was. So that obviously would have delayed my recovery a lot more, because I had to wait those 6 months before they could actually send me for more testing or send me to go get more things done.
And it sort of plays on our own insecurities too, because that idea that it might not be HA, it's like, well, I don't need to be, I guess, as aggressive with my approach to heal it, because it might not be that. I mean, why am I going to stop my training and change my nutrition unless I really, really have to? But as you said, 6 months is such a long time for our bodies, but also if you know that starting a family is a goal for you, that 6 months is such a long time of being in that sort of guesswork phase as well. No one really knows what's going on, and jumping on Google and always trying to diagnose what's going on. It can be such a shaky position to be in. When you found Claudia, how did you find her?
So I did a lot of searching on social media, and that's where I came across Claudia. So I found lots of people who help women with HA, and I found a lot of Americanized ones. Obviously, being in Australia, I wanted someone who was close to where I was from, to help me with understanding HA. And so that's where I just kept on searching, and I came across Claudia.
Wonderful. And was that through Instagram, Facebook?
It was Facebook originally, yeah.
Yeah. So were you in the recovery group?
Yeah. So I was a part of the recovery group, and then I reached out to Claudia as well.
And what made you reach out? Because I feel like when we've got HA, we're on that like research path for a long time. That sort of, I can do this myself, let's get some strategy. And it's a real back and forth between maybe I should ask for help, maybe I should just do it by myself. Maybe I don't even need help. Maybe I don't even have HA. Okay, I do HA, and then we get really upset about it, and then we drop back down. What was it that sort of made you go, no, enough. I'm just going to call her and see what happens?
Yeah. So I think because nothing had happened within 6 months, and because I also had to like fight to get blood tests done for my hormone levels and everything. So I knew that I couldn't do it myself. I had a introduction call with Claudia, like one of those free introduction calls. And just knowing that there was, having you and Claudia as well was to help with my mindset along the way. That was a big game changer into going into it, because I thought I can eat food, I can stop exercise, but can I mentally do both of those? Probably not. I knew that I would need all that help, and I knew that trying to sign up for someone because I didn't know how to stop myself, it might have been easy for me to say, okay, you're not going to go to the gym, but I knew I wouldn't listen to myself doing that, whereas I know I listen to others. So having someone tell me, no, you need to stop, will have helped me to stop. So I think that was where I knew that once I'd signed up, I would listen and my recovery would come.
Yeah, it's such an important thing that you know about your own personality traits and character, because you mentioned it very similarly when you were investing in training programs pre-HA diagnosis. It's like, but they said train 5 days a week. So I train 5 days a week, regardless of sick or injury. Like, that you're very good at following through with directions. So I guess pairing that up with the next goal, which is to get your period back, that was such a sound decision for you to make, to be like, well, someone just needs to tell me exactly what to do, and I know I'm going to go for it. Obviously, there's ebbs and flows in the process because it is an emotional process. Yeah. What do you think were some of the biggest pieces of advice that you received from both Claudia and myself that helped you sort of push through, I guess, the rules that you didn't want to break or that you felt a lot more resistance towards?
So some of the biggest advice was really questioning myself. So diving deeper into my thoughts and getting to know myself some more. So I feel like I wasn't listening to myself. I was just going with the flow. Someone said I had to do this, I'd do this, even if I didn't want to. So the advice was to listen to myself and take time to listen to myself, which is something I hadn't done in years. And it really did play a major toll emotionally and mentally. So having someone there to help back you up along the way, to help you with that advice of keep going. That was what was a major, huge change, I think, for myself along the process. So the advice of just listening to yourself, which we don't often do because we don't think we don't think we have HA, so we're not listening to ourselves with it, what our body's telling us. Yes, you've got HA, you're not getting a period, you're undernourishing, you're overworking. I think that would be the major thing that has helped.
Mm-hmm. And did you find all right, so that awareness has been prompted, that you need to actually start listening to the first thoughts that pop into your head and not necessarily act on them, but at least give them some conscious thought, whether that be saying yes or no to a coffee date, yes or no to a meal, yes or no to a training session, yes or no to an extra hours at work. I mean, there's so many areas that falls into our life that's, it's all related to HA, but it's not directly that exercise and nutrition piece. But I guess a lot of women, when they start to come to learn these things, that these are really helpful in our daily lives and honoring ourselves, they're fearful that it could affect their relationships in a negative way. They're fearful that it could affect their work in a negative way because they're always the person who says yes, or they're always the person who's accommodating to everybody else. And seeing as though you've recognized that as one of the biggest pieces of advice that helped you through, do you feel like your relationships with those around you improved, that they dissipated, and how did it affect your work life as well?
Definitely they've improved. Socially, like I know with my partner now, I don't have to plan everything down to the last minute. I can just come home from work, go with the flow. If we go out for tea, we go out for tea. So socially, I've become a lot more happier and freer. During HA, I would be saying no to going out for dinners or going out for any social interaction around food. So even socially with my friends, that's been a huge improvement there as well. And I've even had people comment like, oh, you're such a social butterfly now, which I had always been a social butterfly, but I stopped doing that for so long because of all the restriction that came around it. So there's definitely been a major improvement there. And in terms of work, it was very stressful. Coming back to work from COVID as well, put a big stress on work, and then having to deal with all the emotions I was going through with HA recovery added a little bit of extra stress. But I was able to work through that because I was learning all these different ways to cope with my emotions and all these different ways to cope with stress along the way. And I've noticed since having my period, my mood at work has lifted. I'm a lot more happier and a lot more freer. And I think it's tough, and it does show along the way how much we have shut ourselves off from things without even realizing it. And since recovery, I've really noticed how much more freer and open I am to new and different ideas.
I have the biggest smile as you're speaking because it's so wonderful to hear all the changes that have occurred as a result of this healing journey, and especially that social butterfly. It really is sort of like spread your wings, enjoy life, have fun, and as you sort of said as well, it resurfaced like it's always been there. It just kind of got locked away while you're focused on other things, and now that you've created space, you can come back to being the person that you were always meant to be, which is really social and fun, and experiencing all these different moments with joy. And even as you said, going back to work, after lockdowns, that was such an intense time for so many, that coping strategies for stress were so important. Really common with women with HA that when they're stressed out, they feel a lot more conscious of their physical body. So I guess to add some context to it, if you're out on a date with your husband and having a great time, going to the movies or the beach or whatever it is, it's kind of like your physical self disappears because you're having so much fun just doing whatever you're doing.
Yeah.
But let's say you're really stressed out because of work, there's a deadline, too many things to do, not enough hours to do it. It's almost like we become so aware of our physical body. Like suddenly we feel heavier. Suddenly there's almost like a grey letter outline. We can tell every part of us. When you started to learn the stress management tools, did you start to make a connection between when you were stressed, you seemed way more intense and I guess a harsh critic on your physical body versus those moments when you were just having a good time and I guess didn't even notice your body?
Yeah, definitely. And it's interesting that you say that because it's such a great way to sum it up. Every flaw that you think you might have is really, really noticeable when you are stressed. And I think that's what made part of my journey really hard, is because I was like, okay, I'm stressed at the moment. Is my period ever going to come back? Am I doing the right things? I've had to stop so much. And that's when I did start picking out everything. And I think since recovery as well, I haven't done that as much. The physical side of me, I've really left behind. There are still days I look at myself and I go, oh, look at this, look at this, look at this. And then I do the whole, look what we've done, look what we've achieved. So it still does play a bit of a role. And I guess that's those times where we are stressed, obviously with different aspects of life, but it really does come out. And having those different coping mechanisms as well definitely helps along the way to, you know, stop those worries and stop those thoughts coming in.
It's such a common question of sort of, you know, why do I need X person's help? Why do I need mindset coaching? And that's such a big pillar of mindset coaching, is that the awareness of whatever you're stressed about triggers your body compulsions or body obsessions or body checking. And it tends to be like the glass shattering moment when women make the connection of, oh wow, you know, I really do have bad body days, on days that I'm stressed or I'm frustrated or I'm angry, or, you know, some of those negative emotions. And then, oh, even if regardless of the weight, bigger, smaller, if I'm having a really good time, I've got no idea what size that I am. And there's such a big change of pace. Like the whole game changes when that awareness happens. So I'm glad that you got to that stage where you could notice these things and have those stress management tools to work your way through. What's, I guess, your favorite go-to stress management tool, if you were to have one?
That's a tricky one.
Sorry, I did put you on the spot.
Okay. I learned like lots of things. So journaling was really good for me as well. I just got all my thoughts out onto paper. I'm such a pen and paper person anyway in life. So, you know, just journaling was really good. I never had to have a prompt. If I was having a hard day, just whatever I was thinking, I would go and get out onto paper. And there's always little rewards of that. You could go and buy like new fancy pens or a new fancy book to go along with your journaling. Otherwise, I've really gotten into like the meditation, relaxing music, and like my essential oils such as lavender to help me calm down and relax my nervous system. So doing that as well. But I think journaling was my like major way to de-stress and to get everything out. And once it was out, it stayed out.
So when you would journal, would you focus on particular questions, or would it be a general review of the day or an intention for the day, or it kind of chopped and changed?
So it could be different. So I mean, I did research and I found journal prompts to help me if I needed them, but it was more of a word vomit kind of thing. So everything that was just in my head would go out. So all the negative thoughts, I would just write them down and how I'd be feeling about them, why I was feeling that way. So once I could just see what it was that I was feeling, and knowing how negative I am talking to myself, because reading them back, I mean, I've gone back and I've read some of my journal entries before, and I thought, oh, that's really dark, that's harsh, I can't believe that's what you were thinking. So it was good to just get everything out.
So do you keep, only because you said you've looked back, have you kept all the journals since when you started?
Yes.
Yeah, it's so interesting to see, as you said, how dark things can be, because at the time we write them, in that very moment, we just feel like we're a good critic, you know, or we're just being very truthful about what's going on. And then you make all these mental shifts, physical shifts, emotional shifts, and you look back and go, oh my goodness, like I was so hard on myself. And if I was in a relationship with someone and I treated them that way, we would not be together, like we would break up. This is awful. But I guess when we're in it, it's so difficult to see. So thank you for bringing that up, that you look back and go, oh wow, like that was really awful of me to say, or really dark, compared to where you can be when you sort of commit to the process and continue through with it. Now, training. Tell us about training, because obviously you were training quite a lot. You do enjoy programs from others because you like sort of that guidance. What changes did you make? How did they work out?
So I'd been training since I was 15 years old. So to cut that out, so that was weight training since I was 15. And then I'd been playing netball since I was 7 years old. So to cut out a huge part of my life was like, oh, this is me. This is my de-stress time. This is what I do, when actually it was adding to my stress. So I went from making sure I hit a certain step target a day to some days I don't even look at what steps I've done. And then I went from, going to the gym, walking, doing my weight training for an hour, coming home, walking. I said to my fitness trainer who did my workouts at the time, I said, this is what's happening. I've got HA. I'm not sure what I should do. And I said, I think I want to cut down to 3 days a week. And she goes, no worries, that's fine. We can put 3 days a week and we'll put a 4th day on there as an option for you. So I still did my walk in the mornings just as a warm up. I was still keeping it at 20 minutes sometimes, but then I cut it back down to 10 minutes. And then I would do my 3 days a week, but no intensity changed. I was still doing heavy lifts, excessive weight, excessive reps. And I was still taking pre-workout, not fueling my body before my workout. And I still didn't see any changes. And I was still in the midst of netball season. So I was then having netball as well on top of that. And then it wasn't until netball had finished as well for the season that I went, okay, I'm still doing my 3 days a week, but maybe, and then after chatting to you and Claudia a bit more, so maybe I am still being too excessive in my workouts. So then I spoke to my workout program again and I said, can we reduce the intensity, get rid of some of these big movements? And she goes, yeah, we can do that. We'll still keep it to 3 days a week. We'll drop some of your exercises and your intensity. And so then I was still going 3 days a week and my intensity had dropped, but I still didn't feel comfortable with it. I still felt like I was pushing myself too far in my workouts. And then that's when I spoke to you in regards to how intense should I be working? What should I be doing? And then I actually made the call to cut ties with my workout programmer at the time. And I said, no, I've been going to the gym for a very, very long time. I know what I need and I know what I need to do. And so with your advice as well, I made my own little program workout. And I was only going 3 days a week, and then I cut it down to 2 days a week, and that was all I was doing. And within 2 weeks before I actually got my period, I didn't go to the gym once. I had some other things that I needed to work on as well. And then I got my period, and I actually never thought that I would go from going to the gym 5 to 6 days a week to 0. And even since having my period, I think I've gone to the gym twice a week, once the whole time. Otherwise, I've been going maybe once a week, or I've been doing a light Pilates at home, and never do I exercise more than 3 times a week anymore. I just haven't done it, and I actually feel amazing. I didn't realize how much I was pushing myself and how much rest I actually needed. I was getting up, just to have some pre-workout that will get you through. And I didn't think I could see myself doing this, but it actually feels really good not having to have that mental strain of, okay, I need to go to the gym now. I need to go to the gym.
Yeah, it's because there's so much time allocated to it. Not even if you think about a 1 hour training session, there's the travel time, the preparation time, the shower before or after, or, all the little things that sort of stack up too. So, again, never demonizing training. If you love training, training's great, but it is incredible to see how much time you have for friends and family and hobbies and other interests, even if you just free up one day. Because you and I both know at the early stages of this, the idea of even dropping 1 day of training is like, how dare you? How dare you suggest such a thing? But once you get to the other side of it, and I don't want anyone to get spooked by once again hearing, I hadn't trained for a week and I feel fine about it, because when you're, I guess, really in the midst of it, you're like, no, I could never be that person. I could never not go to the gym for a whole week. So I'm sure there's some women listening to this right now going, yeah, but that's not me. Like, I can't not go. But by the time you've made the mental shifts and the physical changes, and it's suddenly you're not going because you've given up, or you're not going because you hate training. Sometimes you're just not going because there's other life things going on that are taking priority, or there's more things to do. You want to prioritize your health a little bit more. You're a bit tired, you're a bit stressed. It's so far from a give up, and so much more in line with what's optimal for me today, this week. Is that how you feel around training now when it comes to taking a rest day, a rest week, versus how you would have felt, early 2020?
Yeah, definitely. So now, like, there's so many factors I go by. So there's been times where I've had an alarm set to still go to the gym in the morning, and I've had a horrible sleep, and I've gone, no, turn the alarm off. Let's push it back to when we need to get up for work. Whereas I wouldn't have done that before. I would have gone like, oh yeah, horrible sleep. Oh well, let's just get up that little bit earlier and we'll just go to the gym. Mm-hmm. So now I've prioritized my sleep. If I haven't had enough sleep, I don't go. If I'm feeling a bit sick, I don't go anymore, which these are all things that would never have been a factor before. They would have all been things that were, okay, you need to go. You still need to do your workout. Even sometimes, like, I used to schedule my workouts around social events. So if I was going out for an evening or for the day, one day, I would make sure I go to the gym that morning, because I'm going to be eating things that I can't control. So I need to work out before that to allow myself to have those, which that doesn't become a factor anymore. I don't even think about that when I'm choosing what days I want to work out. So yeah, definitely, like, life stresses, things happen, and missing a workout for me, in HA would have been a huge thing. I would have, moved mountains to make sure that I went to the gym for some time in that day. Whereas now it's like, okay, I've missed it. We're going to be okay. And sometimes it still is a little bit of a talk to myself to be like, you're doing okay. What's going to happen if you don't go to the gym? But I think knowing that I don't need it to survive has really helped along the process, especially with all the different factors that come in around sleep and family and stress, and not wanting to add to more of that by going and pushing myself.
And do you feel like you could enjoy, I guess, relationships that little bit better without having the pressure of a training session? So I just think about, especially when I was in the midst of HA as well, was because there was this, I must get a workout done. And sometimes the intensity was dependent on the event you're going to. Like if it was Christmas or something, you might train twice, or you might train for a long time, or you must do a HIIT workout that goes for a really, really long time. But instead, like, let's say Christmas as an example, that idea that you can, if you choose to, because you always have a choice, is that rather than be like, I have to get an hour workout in, so then I can go to this, and then I've got to walk after lunch because I've got to help my digestion, and then I've got to do this. Instead, you can just sort of wake up and go, oh, I may or may not go to the gym because of, maybe you had a good night's sleep, maybe you didn't. And there's no pressure to race off or race anywhere or to burn anything off, because I find that even if we enjoy an event and we're worried about burning it off, we're already thinking about the next morning. What am I going to train? How am I going to use this the best? Should I run? Should I jog? Should I lift, do squats, deadlifts, blah, 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 blah. Do you feel like you can be so much more present with friends and family and just enjoy even the smallest of events because you don't have the chaos of how I'm going to burn this off?
Yeah, most definitely. So not being able to think about all other things, and instead just being there and listening to what everyone's around you is actually talking about, so much more clarity in the mind, because you're not focusing on 10 million different things other than what's happening right there, right now.
Awesome. Now, I could talk to you so much more about this HA, but we are coming to an end. It's nice and early here at 6 a.m. and busy days ahead. I guess before we finish things up, what were your two favorite things about being in the HA community, or what did you find, I guess, most helpful about seeking help from either myself, Claudia, or even another professional?
Yeah, so being a part of the community was amazing because so many people have been in the community, and there's so many different experiences. And when you needed help with anything, either whether it was a question or you just wanted to seek clarification, there were so many people to turn to and so many positive energies coming your way from all the people around you, and positive comments helping you out along the way. Even now, I still use it in recovery, as there's so many people who have recovered their period and they've got there's still different experiences with, you know, getting your first cycle, your second cycle, and so on. So there's still lots of people out there helping now, and you can even just search through and see what you're looking for. And I think the second best thing about seeking advice from you and Claudia has been the mental capacity. So I've always heard that when you're in HA, it's preparing you for all your different changes you're going to go through, whether you fall pregnant or whether you're having all these body changes and so on. And I don't think I could have done it by myself mentally along the way. And knowing that I had you and Claudia in my corner to support me, back me up, keep pushing me, give me the advice that I need, and tell me, no, you're doing a good job, really, really helped me. And to change my mental mindset along the way was a huge component of that, because I knew that was going to be my biggest hurdle. And it's something that we've worked on together, and something that I will continue to be working on, as we can be the harshest critics of ourselves, and we do let the brain overtake and have more power than we should. So I think just having that in my corner and helping me work through it has been my most favorite thing, as well as some of the best changes that I could have made for myself.
That was so beautifully said. And thank you. Claudia and I, from the bottom of our heart, are so proud of you and so happy of the return of your cycle, because, you know, you put the work in. It is work. It takes conscious, consistent effort to make the changes that you need in order to recover. But, you know, once again, when you achieve the bleed or the pregnancy or all the other things that come after it, or even just, you know, the revival of your social life, it's so worth it.
Yeah.
Knowing what you know now, feeling what you feel now, are you glad you took the steps you needed to recover your period?
Most definitely. I think if I hadn't have taken those steps, I'd still be where I was over 6 months ago.
Amazing. You're amazing. Thank you so much for coming on today. I'm so happy to hear all about your journey, and I'm going to keep talking to you more about it because it's such an exciting time. But for now, thank you so much for coming on and sharing with us, and I can't wait to speak with you soon.
No worries. Thank you.
If you would like to know more about the HA community, you can send me an email or a DM on Instagram or Facebook, and I would love to chat to you about it. But for now, I hope you are having a fabulous day, a wonderful afternoon, or an incredible evening, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.